The March Against Monsanto is happening this Saturday, May 24th. You can check the march-against-monsanto.com website for information about local events. I've been asked by a few viewers to comment on this, and they were wondering why have I not been talking about this March Against Monsanto. I agree with many of the grievances of many of those protesters at these marches against Monsanto, and this includes the bullying influence of companies like Monsanto, the lawsuits against farmers who, merely by virtue of having an adjacent field to one that has Monsanto trademarked soybeans planted, wind blows and some of those get planted in a small farmer's field inadvertently, and the farmer gets sued and their small family farm is ruined. The Monsanto lobbying efforts to prevent full disclosure and mandatory labeling on products. I am 100% behind all of that stuff. However, the blind anti-GMO component of the March Against Monsanto does not appeal to me, not because I'm a cheerleader of GMOs, but because, Lewis, we've had interviews on this program with actual scientists who have told us that the one study that is often pointed to in terms of the harmful effects of GMOs on rats was a flawed study that we can't really consider as evidence, and that we don't really have science that tells us in the abstract genetically modified foods are bad for human health. I'm not rejecting the idea, but I think it's very important when we're going to organize, when we're going to activate against corporations or individuals or organizations, that we know exactly what it is we're talking about and asking for and protesting against. And on the GMO issue, according to many of the scientists we've talked to, reputable scientists, we just don't really have the science where I would be out saying GMOs are just flat out bad for everyone's health.
That is true. But at the same time, we don't have scientists telling us that they're perfectly harmless either. I think the general consensus is that we just don't know yet.
We don't know. You're exactly right. But then, therefore, I'm not really comfortable. I would be out there protesting, saying we need studies right away, including on the short, medium, and long-term effect of GMO consumption in humans. But I wouldn't be out there saying GMO foods are bad, period. And there are many cases of GMO foods actually being very important in poor areas of the world where nutrition is something that where food is definitely in short supply. And I don't feel comfortable advocating for protest on something where I don't believe we have all the facts.
Fair enough, but I think it is just as good a reason to protest on something that is widely produced and distributed throughout the country and is ending up on many people's plates, simply because we don't have all the facts.
Certainly.
So it kind of goes both ways. I'm not going to side with the people who say that this stuff kills. Of course, you're right there. But I still think it's a bit unnerving that we just don't really know about it, but we're still eating it.
We need to know more, no question about it, about the effects on humans of eating GMO foods. However, to be blindly against GMOs strictly on the basis that they are bad for human health, in the absence of true science telling us that, I think is not a good idea for anybody who wants to be taken seriously as a protester, as an activist. This is viewer-supported independent media. Please support our program by going to davidpakman.com/membership and becoming a member today.